Thank you, Madam, for that wonderful introduction. And thank you for the organizing committee of Servants of the Buddha and Madam for inviting me to discuss this topic today. And also thank you for coming, the audience, in person and online to listen to this discussion. So my first encounter with this practice, the cultivation of mindfulness, came about roughly around 10 years ago when I stumbled upon a meditator who was sort of trained or who was learning this art of mindfulness from the most venerable Mahatero Uluiriyagama Dhammajivatero. And since then, I started practicing. I started listening to the Mahatero sermons and found that, this practice is extremely useful to sort of harbor in or to show us or to show me what I was looking for in life. And there is still, the journey is not complete, much more to do on the path. There is much more work to do. But as I'm proceeding in this path, this is a good opportunity to discuss and share my experience. So today's topic is about the Satipatthana techniques, especially the Kayanupassana. So we all know the Buddhist teachings in the Theravada tradition is preserved in the Pali canon. This was from the days of when the Buddha was teaching these valuable teachings. These gems were remembered and passed down through the generations, from teacher to disciple, through the oral tradition. And then subsequently, this was documented in the scriptures. And since then, the teaching is preserved in the Pali canon, and you all know that there are three main categories or three main sections. The Sutra Pitaka, where the Buddha contains a lot of sutras, where the Buddha teaches the people who are interested, the people who he encountered. It's a practical teaching of how to progress or how to proceed from your lay status to the ultimate destination of liberation. And that's basically what the Sutra Pitaka has. Lots of teachings, very profound teachings, which is aimed at guiding the individual. And these are practical teachings which was remembered by Venerable Ananda Maharahatan Vahanse and then sort of passed down over the generations, over the centuries. And then another main branch is the Vinaya Pitaka, where again, this is the Buddha's teachings dealing with the monastic disciplinary code, dealing with maintaining the discipline within the Sangha. And then you have the third section, which is the Abhidhamma. The first two sections are very practical. The third, again, is based on the Buddha's teachings, but it is more of an academic sort of study or academic understanding or academic teaching of how the Dhamma works, or how the intricate connections between objects and observer and karma and all these teachings, which are difficult maybe to experience, but nevertheless a very rich and very important part of the teaching. In the Sutra Pitaka, there are 5 books. As we all know, Digha Nikaya, which contains the long discourses, Majjhima Nikaya, which contains the middle-length discourses, Samyutta Nikaya, which contains the connected discourses, Anguttara Nikaya, which is the numerical discourses, and Khuddaka Nikaya, the minor collection. So the Satipatthana teaching is found in the Digha Nikaya, and it is found in the Mahasatipatthana Sutra. In the Majjhima Nikaya, it appears as the Satipatthana Sutra. And in the Samyutta Nikaya, it comes as the Satipatthana Samyutta. So you see that this teaching is very important. This practice is very important. It's a training manual. It's a set of instructions that the Buddha gives for the purpose of achieving enlightenment. And this appears in so many, I think in addition to these books that I mentioned, I'm sure this must be widely distributed in the Pali Canon if one were to study that. That's my feeling. So this sutra was expounded by the Buddha in an area which is now thought to be northern India, which is probably in the area of where Delhi is situated. And in the sutra, this is mentioned as Kuru Rata, Kuru country, in a city called, probably I'm assuming, a city called Kammasa Dhamma. And when you look at the audience is primarily lay. It's a congregation of lay practitioners, lay people. And the citizens of this area, the inhabitants, were thought to be highly intelligent individuals. So this sutra is something that is relevant to us, even from a historical point of view. This was taught to the lay people, expecting the lay people to take on this practice. So it's very relevant to us who are leading a lay life. So now a bit of the outline of the sutra. So the sole purpose of this sutra is to cultivate mindfulness, or in Pali, which is called sati. In the Sinhalese language, it's called sihiya. That's the sole purpose of this sutra. And the Buddha gives in the sutra, I'm going to refer the sutra initially, as the Buddha starts the teaching, the Buddha gives the advantages, or in a sense, the objectives of this practice. He gives the objectives so that the practitioner has an idea about the outcome of embarking in this, practice, so that there is no misunderstanding. You're going to get what is being taught here if you want what is being mentioned by the Buddha. So it's very clear. Otherwise, you could have a situation where somebody would practice and would not be happy with the end result and would try to sue the Buddha. This is what I got, and this is what I came for. But look at, the result is not something that I anticipated. But there is no room for that here, because it's very clearly said. And let me read off this Pali section of the sutra. Ekayano ayam bhikkhave maggo sattanam visuddhya soka parideva samatikkamaya dukkha domanassanam attangamaya nyayasa adhigamaya nibbana satchakiriyaya yadidang chattaro satipatthana. So I think I've gone through these sayings even in my previous talks, I think, and I'm sure you're very familiar with this section. So these are the 7 objectives, or the 7 outcomes that you're going to get if you practice with the true spirit, genuinely if you're genuinely committed, these are the benefits. Sattanang Visuddhya is purification of the mind. The mind, you can achieve a state where you do not have the 5 hindrances. That is Visuddhya. And now it's a very, very popular word, isn't it? Even in our political scenario, the Clean Sri Lanka project of the government is, in a sense, a Visuddhya, trying to clean the environment and the person. Now, it's very easy because the Buddha has already given the technique to achieve this through the Satipatthana practice. Secondly, Shoka Paridhavanam Samatikkamaya. Shoka. Sattanam Shoka Paridhavanam Samatikkamaya. Shoka Parideva. To overcome sorrow and lamentation. You can overcome this. That's another benefit you're going to get. So that's 3 and 4. 5 and 6 would be Dukkha Domanassanam Attangamaya. To distance yourself from dukkha is physical pain, domnasa is psychological pain. For example, if we take the example of a person in burning and sitting in the middle of a fire, and this person is in so much pain, and he cries out saying, somebody come and douse the fire so that I would not suffer. So what the Buddha is saying here, the Buddha is telling that individual, you can't douse the fire. Sorry about that. No can do. But what you can do is you don't have to sit in the middle of the fire. Why don't you step out and stay in a place maybe 10 away from the fire, 10 feet, 20 feet away from the fire? You're not going to suffer. You're going to feel the warmth, the temperature, but you will not suffer. So it's that sort of skill that the Buddha wants the practitioner to achieve, that can be achieved. Nyayasa Adhigamaya. In addition to these benefits, if you believe in the cycle of the sansaric cycle of birth, death, suffering, going perpetually, continuing sansaric suffering, and if you want to put an end to it, you're going to achieve certain stages. If you continue this practice, you're going to achieve stream entry, Sotapanna, Sakurdagami state, you know, where Sotapanna has 7 lifetimes. There is a definite end. Once you reach Sotapanna, there's a definite end. You will not fall into hell. There's a definite end to your sansaric journey. But that will occur anytime within 7 lifetimes. So you go on and you achieve Sakurdagami, Anagami, and Nibbana, Arahat state, where the Arahat is not going to be born ever again. So he's done his duty as a human, as a Buddhist. So that's the final benefit that you're going to get. So the Buddha is asking us again, how are you going to do that? This is what you have to achieve in the practice to get these benefits. Katane chattaro. Ida bhikkhave bhikkhu kaye kayanupassana viharati. So the monk or the practitioner has to experience awareness of the body. It's an experience. Kaye kayanupassana viharati. The practitioner, once starting the practice, subsequently has to dwell in the state of mind, has to get used to the state of mind of experiencing awareness of the body. He is always aware of the body. He experiences this awareness of the body and doesn't go beyond that. on factual or on views about the body, views that are formed in the mind. So if you think of the sense bases, his mind is focused on the body. And even though it does naturally tend to deviate or tend to quickly run to the mind and form views about the body, this is a good body, this is something pleasurable, this is something that you need to strive for, this is something that you need to have agreed about, views. This is something permanent. So you don't have time to form views if you're dwelling or you're experiencing you're there, aware with the body, as and when sensations of various objects arise within this body. So that is kayanupassana viharati. This is where you have to maintain your awareness. Not just maintain your awareness, you need to have some qualities in that mind. Atapi sampajano satima vinaya loke abhijja domanasang. Atapi, ardent effort. This is not easy. You have to be at it every moment, or you have to try at least. It's not going to happen. There are, so many moments you will fail, but you can always come to this dwelling place. And you have to have that attitude of, okay, you're going to fall, fight back. Go back to this dwelling place. That's atapi, ardent effort. Sampajano satima, with clear comprehension and mindfulness. So being aware of, knowing that you're aware. Now you're aware of your body, you're not thinking of your body. Subtle difference. Vinaya loke abhijna domanassa. Vinaya loke. So you're abandoning greed, aversion to worldly things. That is the attitude. So this is the attitude of a person who's going to end the journey, who is determined to end this journey. That's the only way you can abandon worldly attachments and aversion. If there's attachment, there's going to be the flip side is aversion. So abandoning all of these, be mindful, be ardent, know what's happening with clear comprehension, dwell in this place. So this is the first foundation of the 4 foundations of mindfulness, the Satara Satipatthana. This is the first foundation. And the Buddha goes on with the rest of the 3 foundations, the same instruction. This is where the mind has to dwell. Vedanasu vedananupasse viharati atapi sampajano satima vinaya loke abhijja domanassa. When it comes to feelings, be aware of the feelings. Be aware of the experience of feeling without assuming, coming to assumptions, deducing concepts. Just be aware of the feelings, just acknowledge. And this is where the mind has to be kept when it comes to feelings. The mind, chitte chittanupasse viharati atapi sampajano satima vinaya loke abhijja domanassa. Same qualities in the mind: ardent, effortful, mindful, clearly comprehending, abandoning attachment, resistance, aversion to worldly objects, worldly things. But be aware of your mind. Experience the awareness of the mind. This is an experience. You're experiencing the mind. Dhammesu dhammanupasse viharati atapi sampajano satima vinaya loke abhijja domanassa. Again, be aware of the experience of dhammas. So at this point, you're seeing that the person who is seeing has faded away actually at this point, at the Dhammanupassana point. This could be likened to Yoniso Manasikara. Every concept, every view, every understanding that we have is based on a phenomena that is called the Dhamma. And if you just leave that phenomena as it is, you don't manipulate it, you don't tamper with that, that remains a Dhamma. and it behaves abiding the laws of Dhammas. The laws of Dhammas they are impermanent. They cannot be owned. There is no ownership. They behave on a cause and effect relationship. And if you cling on to them, if you start owning them, claiming them, you're going to get burnt. So those are the laws of the Dhamma. Be aware of the experience of the Dhammas. So he gives that, and then he moves on. I mean, he completes, he goes on, the Buddha, the Lord Buddha goes on with the teaching of the Kayanupassana, the technique, Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana, so we are, and Dhammanupassana. So we are going to focus on the Kayanupassana. That's the topic for the day. So when it comes to Kayanupassana, the Buddha asks again, Ida bhikkhave bhikkhu kaye kayanupassana viharati. So the Buddha now is gradually bringing us, isn't it? He's telling us, okay, these are the advantages, these are your objectives, these are the benefits, and this is where you have to maintain your mindfulness. Kaye kayanupassana viharati. But how do you do that? Ida bhikkhave bhikkhu kaye kayanupassana viharati. How do you do that? Sorry, this is what he is asking, the Buddha is asking. Katancha pana bhikkhave kaye kayanupassana viharati. Katancha pana bhikkhave. And how do you achieve this kayanupassana viharati? That is vipassana. That word means vipassana. Looking at the body from a different perspective. The true perspective, not your individual perspective or your individual view. How do you do that? And the Buddha here gives meditation objects. The Buddha starts from all these objects are related to the body in Kayanupassana. And when you look at the entire Kayanupassana segment, there are 14 objects mentioned. The first one is the awareness of breathing. Be mindful of breathing. So you start with mindfulness of breathing. The second object is be mindful of your postures. Iriyapata pabbaya. Anapanasati pabbaya is the first one. Third object is be mindful, clearly comprehending activities of daily living. Sati sampajana or the sampajana pabbaya. So from the breath to postures, sitting, standing, lying, walking, then to more complicated movements of the body, more complicated activities. Reflection of the repulsion of the body. That is kunupa or the asubha bhavana. So this is the object here as the fourth object in the Kayanupassana. Fifth one is reflection of the elements that constitute the body. Dhatu manasikara. The earth element, the sort of wind or the air element, the liquidity element, and the energy element or the fire element. You know, reflection. And then there are 9 other objects which are related to directly visualizing the decomposing body. These are called the charnel ground contemplations. So when you look at the spread or the spectrum or the variety of objects, it is quite interesting. These are so different, isn't it? But the interesting feature here is they all converge into a common path. Your Anapanasati, if you start with the Anapanasati, it's like a highway where there are roads which enter the highway. So this highway, which is the Kayanupassana, this common path, I'll read this common path, and all these objects, you enter this common path and then you have to progress along this common path. So let me just... So the common path goes as iti ajjattang va kaye kayanupasse viharati, bahidda va kaye kayanupasse viharati, ajjatta bahidda va kaye kayanupasse viharati, Samude Dhammanupassiva Kayasmin Viharati. Vaya Dhammanupassiva Kayasmin Viharati. Samude Vaya Dhammanupassiva Kayasmin Viharati. Attikayotiva panassa sati pachupattita hoti yavadeva jnana mattaya patissati mattaya anissitocha viharati nacha kinchi loke upadiyati evampi ko bhikkave bhikkhu kaye kayanupassi viharati. So that's where you come to. So you have to maintain. This is where you are reaching. This is your target. This is not enlightenment. This is what is going to take you to Yoniso Manasikara. This is the point where when you dwell here, when you settle down in this state, you're able to see the Dhammas behaving without your influence. You see true nature or Yata Bhuta Jnana. You see the behavior. So even after the breath meditation, it's the same thing. Even after the postures, that's the same common path. Even after activities of daily living, you end up here. So which means you can be walking, you can be eating, you can be driving, you can be engaged in you're doing something, you're actively engaged in something, and you can dwell at this place of Attikayotiva Panassa Sati Pachupattita hoti Yavadeva Jnanamattaya Patissatimattaya Anissitocha Viharati Nacha Kinchi Loki Upadhyati. You're not sticking, you're not clinging on to even an object, even your meditation object that was given to you. Your meditation object, a meditation object means Nitya Sanya. That Nitya Sanya is better than the worldly Nitya Sanya, because that Nitya Sanya is going to take you to the Animitta state. Anissitocha Vihara. The breath is a Nitya Sanya. We start with that. This is breath. There is a permanent notion, and you grab onto that. We cannot understand otherwise. So, and if you look at the variety of objects, the first three objects, the breath, postures, activities of daily living, has to do with the body, a bodily function. Your awareness is starting with the body, ending with the body, awareness of the body, experiencing the awareness of the body. You end there. Fourth and fifth, reflection of repulsion of the body. And how do we do that? Atti imasmin kaye kesa loma naka danta tacho mangsang naharu attiminjang wakkang hadayang yakanang, and goes on to describe the parts that constitute this body. These are not pretty things. These are not things that you get attracted to, even though you might get attracted to your own body, even though we are attracted to our own body. When you dissect this and you have on a table all these components, there is nothing nothing to grasp here. You cannot even tell whether this is a part of a human being. It's just a piece of flesh most of the time. So imagine thinking of that, thinking from the mind base and ending up where? In the body. So you're using the mind to reach the body. First three objects, you're using the body to come to this dwelling point. Then the charnel ground contemplations, you're looking at decomposing bodies, decomposing to this level of just having the skeleton. 9 stages. And this is a visual stimulus. This is a visual object looking at this an external corpse, and then reaching down to this common path, guiding you to this common path. So oftentimes, when it comes to the 32 parts of contemplating the 32 parts of the body, we forget that we are doing this to dwell in the awareness of the body. We have to rest our mind there. So we do not, even though we know where to start with, we are not probably, we are not progressing in this meditation. Is a very valuable meditation practice because it helps you. You may not have a walking track. You may not be able to do the breath meditation. You may not be able to engage in activities, but you can always, your mind is fully active. You can always think about the 32 parts, and then through that. So I would like to talk, before I end my talk, about the practical experience. Apart from going through the written instructions, practically, what would you feel? How does this happen practically? Not all the meditation objects, what I have practiced out of these objects that I mentioned. And remember 2 words I want you to remember: pajanati, passati. In instance, in the common path, the word passati comes. Kaye kayanupassi, ajjatangva kaye kayanupassi. But when it comes to the initial object, then pajanati words, you know that you are experiencing that object that is given to you. Digang, for example, when you're mindful of the breath, digangva asasanto, digangva asasamiti pajana. And that's how you start. Titova titom hiti pajanati. When you're standing, know that you're standing. Nisinnova nisinnom hi pajanati. When you're eating, know that you're eating. When you're licking, know that you're licking. If you're sucking some liquid, know that you're doing that. So like that, pajanati. But when you keep on paying attention to these activities mindfully and knowing, being aware of the knowing that happens, you slip into this passati. Pajanati is some active process. You have to know. It is a bit tiring. Passati is non-involvement and pure observation, pure experience. It's called passati, is translated as seeing, but it's not through your eyes. It's an experience. So that is like what the common ground that we have to understand, and that is why this is so profound. This is so profound. The experience you are going to get in your sitting meditation is the same experience you are going to get when you're walking. That's what the Buddha is telling us. It's the same experience you're going to get when you note, when you reflect on the 32 parts of the body. Same experience, no different. Now we have different, we think it's going to be different. It's not. So I will start with the 32 parts of, just going through the 32 parts, Kesa, Loma, Naka, Danta. So when you do this, you continue to do this. What is the Buddha trying to do? You have to continue to do this. When you say Kesa in your mind, you're going to have an image of your hair, or some hair that you saw in the barbershop, or hair that has fallen down in the gutter, in your washroom. Some image is going to appear, then you move on to the next part. Some image may be something you've seen on TV, something you've seen on real life, at an accident site, at a funeral, at a medical exhibition. Something is going to come up. Just acknowledge that. When you vocalize in your mind this word, so you continue to do that. You continue to do that. And at one point, the Buddha is trying to convention. In convention, we like our body. We take this as something useful, pleasurable, valuable. In convention. So the Buddha is using a different convention, yet a convention. The 32 parts are called asubha for us. But if you have a reptile or a monitor, it might be a very subha sight for that person, for that animal. So this is also convention, having the 32 parts displayed and going through each part. But that convention is not something nice when you think about it. So the Buddha is breaking a view you have that is ingrained in you. It's the default mode that you have. The Buddha is hitting this continuously by you reciting or you going through these paths. And the Buddha is using one convention to break the other. Using a convention to break the inherent convention, the inherent view we have. Using it and it's shattered. At one point, it's going to shatter and you are going to feel that. When you feel it, because there's nothing to latch on to, your view has been shattered, what is there appears. The body, the kaya appears, and you have to catch that. You know that this because you've meditated, you've done the breath meditation, you know where it takes you when the breath settles. You know this because you've done walking meditation. You know, even though you start with left, right, at one point you're not going to even note. At one point, you're just going to look and it's not going to be left, right. It's going to be firmness, emptiness, not much of description. And then it's going to be a blur experience. Something is there. It's through the body, no definition. You know that because in the breath meditation, it takes you there from very well-defined entities to ill-defined experiences, but more relaxing. It's an experience of freedom. You know that when your convention is shattered by this 32 part, Asubha Bhavana, this already happens because you don't have a view, it's broken now. You broke it. So what is really there appears. So then you can dwell here as the Buddha has instructed, Kaye Kayanupassana viharati, anissitocha viharati. You are not going to define this is samudaya, this is vaya, no definition. You are just observing this flux. And when you're observing that, there is no upadana. There is no clinging. You can't cling and do that. And when you don't cling, you see this. And when you don't cling, upadana pacchaya bhava, tanna pacchaya upadana pacchaya bhava, jati jara, dukkha domanasa. Suffering is there. The moment you make something permanent, you feel the suffering, you feel the tension. The more you relax, you don't try to define, you don't try to even cognize. It is more liberating. So that's the experience of the Kayanupassana through the 32 parts of meditation. Now, the breath meditation, walking meditation, this is such a fascinating practice. You never stop learning. You never stop learning. And I really understand the meaning of the beginning is pleasant, middle is pleasant, the end, I haven't reached the end, but I'm assuming the end has to be pleasant. That's the assumption. So I want you to think about your experience in the body. We'll go through the sense bases very briefly. I hope I have another 5 to 10 minutes. So if you're seated there, you feel firmness of the chair, isn't it? This feeling is a positive feeling. Can you feel emptiness? Can you feel space? The feeling of space is what? The nothingness, emptiness. That feeling is also through the body, isn't it? I hear sounds, but I also need to hear silence or the absence of sound. How can you experience the absence of sound without listening? How can you experience space without reaching out and trying to find some object? If there is no object, there is space. That experience of reaching out into space and experiencing space is through the body. Experiencing silence is through the ear. Seeing darkness, there's nothing, it's pitch black, but there's darkness. You have to see that. You have to see the darkness. It's something visual. So it's something visual. You have to see dark, colorless, no color, like water. You have to see that. Empty space. There is nothing between you and I. There is an empty space. You have to see the emptiness. It's through your vision. I can't imagine that. Having thoughts, having no thoughts. That's an experience through the mind. So when you meditate, when you are focusing on the breath, there'll be a part of the breath that you feel. When you take an in-breath, you will feel something, a bodily motion. There'll be a part that you don't feel. I don't feel the breath. That doesn't mean you're not in the body. You're not feeling that experience. The body is fully active. That's why the Buddha says, Passambayam Kaya Sankarang, and doesn't say the breath is over or the body. No, it's further down. You have to come to, I think the aim of the practice is to experience the body. It's the body that experiences an object, and it's the body that experiences space. If you take the Rupa Dharma that hits the body, that is the object of the body, it consists of apo, liquidity, tejo, energy, patavi, something solid, firm, soft, firm, tactile, and the air element, and space. Patavi, apo, tejo, vayo, akasa. All this is felt through the body. When you are listening, silence is an experience through the ear. So for you to come to Kayanupassana, you have to experience the entire spectrum of what you feel and what you don't feel through the body, through the breath, through the foot. Dhammajivatero, Mahatero, our Lokuswamin Wahanse says, when you're putting the foot down on the earth, you can feel the base, you can feel the forefoot, you can feel your heel, you can feel the lateral edge of your foot, but you might not feel the skin that makes up the arch because it's not in contact. And if you're aware of that, if you go for that experience, try to feel emptiness. You have to try to feel it through the body. Then you're not in the mind, you're in the body. It's like trying to listen to silence. You have to try, you have to push your awareness to the base of hearing. You have to push your awareness to the body, and you feel the entire spectrum of the body. And then you realize the underlying body. You have to come to the body to experience space. You have to first come to the ear to experience silence. You have to first come to the nose to experience that there is nothing to smell. So the sense base is already born, and then only you have something to feel, emptiness, whatever. So the beginning of the sense base, the kaya, is what the Buddha wants us to experience. When you experience the kaya, there are features of this kaya. These are the features here. There is an outside and there's an inside. There is no distance here, there, directional wise, not much an experience, but only inside and outside. Now we have direction, sense of direction. I'm here. I see. This is front. This is my head. This is up. My feet. This is down. I feel gravity. There's a huge, directional awareness. But when you come to the body that is experiencing emptiness, experiencing something that can be felt, both are same. And when you dwell at the body level, it's just out in. And when you keep on even acknowledging that, there is no outing. It's just the body. It's like you're in the middle of an experience and you're just there. There is no reference point for you to say even outside or inside. There is no reference point. So you've escaped. You've overcome the dimension of space. There is no spatial awareness because the body is the only thing that is there. If that's the only thing, there is no comparison. You can't compare. There is no situational or directional, spatial awareness, not there. But there is one thing. There is change. Samudaya Vaya. Even that is something that you are creating. Even that is something that you are latching on to. Even that is not there. So you're not, so the kaya, even though we come to this body, the true body, even that is not something that is solid. That is not something that can withstand the passage of time. What time? Few seconds. Just a moment. Body is just a thought. It's just a sanya. Rupa sanya. So if you're at the rupa sanya level, you realize this. Are you willing to believe that? Why would you believe it when you have a body? Why do you have to go to all this trouble? I feel the body, this is mine, I can use this. But in the big picture of, in the larger scheme of things, you were a fetus, few cells, and you're going to disintegrate into earth, ash. That's the reality. Whatever religion we belong to, this body is something we are going to leave. If we are going to leave it, whether we like it or not, we are going to leave it. Ownership is not there. So that no, so we have taken this body in the wrong way. That's why. That's why it's worth trying to figure out the true nature of these phenomena. So with that talk, I would like to end this discussion, and we have some time. Yes, we can have a 10-minute meditation, or we can open for discussion if meditation. So, okay. So there's a request for, I think I've finished early, but shall we proceed with a meditation right now? That will help our discussion for sure. If we try to experience the body through a identifiable something that can be grasped, the breath, posture, body, whatever you feel, elements, 32 parts, whatever it is you want to do, now you can do that, but it has to be part of the Kayanupassana. And I suggest we do the breath meditation if you're all comfortable with that. And we'll have a 10-minute, I would like to guide us. Initial first minute, 9 minutes, we'll proceed without any disturbance, any guidance. So I'm going to time my clock to 10 minutes. Okay, so it's 11 minutes. And so the instruction in the Satipatthana is Ida bhikkave bhikkhu aranyagato rukka mulagato shunyagara. We are here. We are in a shunyagara. Nisidati pallankam. We've adopted a comfortable posture. Ujunkayam panidaya. Parimukang sating upattapetva. Be mindful. Be mindful of your body, the area that is around your nostril, upper lip. Just be mindful. You can feel the bodily sensations. So asasati, so passasati. You're breathing. And if you're breathing, there are some changes that are occurring right now in your body. Just divert your awareness to that specific process of breathing. You might feel sensations in your nostril, the rim of your nostril, just inside of the nostril. You might feel so asasati, so passasati. Breathe in mindfully, breathe out mindfully. You might feel your upper body expanding, contracting with each breath. You might feel the abdomen or your stomach moving up and down, moving forward, backward, some movement. Some movement that is occurring in tandem with the breathing process, simultaneously with the breathing process. And focus on this, the duration. Even if you don't feel anything, you do have an awareness of the time. The in-breath took this much of time. You're not going to time it in seconds, but you have an understanding. Digangva asasanto, digangva asasamiti pajanati. You really don't have to feel anything as long as you know pajanati. You know I took a in-breath. And you know that in-breath took this much of time. That's the time it took my in-breath. This is the time it took my out-breath. You have an idea about the time, the duration of the in-breath, the duration of the out-breath. Digangva asasanto, digangva asasanto pajanati. And if you're aware of this, keep on focusing. Your mind will wander to various objects, various distractions, bring it back. And if you see this, if you're aware of the time, the sensations, this is the time it took to breathe in. This is the time it took to breathe out. Just an awareness. You don't have to tell these words. Just make a noting in when you see the in-breath and experience the time, the sensations, the changes. And when you see the out-breath, note out, and then experience the time, the changes, the sensations. And if you are doing that, the Buddha tells you that you're going to see a change. Rasangva asasanto, rasangva asasanti pajana. Rasangva pasasanto, rasang pasasanti pajana. This is going to shorten. You are going to experience short breaths. Short breaths which can be felt and known. And you will feel within that short breath, you will experience moments where you don't feel. You don't feel anything, but you know you're breathing still. You're still in the body. You're still experiencing the body. Experience that space in the nostril, in the chest. Little movements, no movements. Experience that static state through the body. That emptiness and somethingness and emptiness. Get used to both these experiences. And I'm going to keep quiet, and I wish you all a very successful meditation for the next few minutes till the alarm rings.